Hi everybody, it's Mike here from The Art of Guitar. A couple weeks ago, I put up a post on my social media and it got a lot of responses. And all it said was, if you're the kind of person that says you have no regrets in life, I highly doubt you ever owned a great guitar that you eventually ended up selling. And a lot of people could relate to it. There was a lot of comments about people's experiences with that same situation. And I thought, man, this would be a lot of fun to do a video and talk about the 4 guitars that I most regret letting go. I know some people might ask, well, if these guitars were so great, why did you end up selling them? And it's because for the most part, we were so poor that I usually had to either trade in or sell my current guitar in order to upgrade to the next one. So having more than one guitar just seemed crazy back then just because we couldn't afford it. So anyway, let's talk about the 4 guitars that I regret losing. The first one on the list was actually my very first electric guitar of all time. It was a Harmony Les Paul copy. I ended up getting it because my brother ended up buying it first along with an amp for $150, and he played it a long time, but then he started to lose interest. And right about then, I started to get interested in guitar, and he ended up just selling me the guitar and the amp for about $100. It was a really solid guitar. It had some weight to it. It felt really good in my hands. It was well balanced on my leg, and when I stood up, it stayed exactly where I wanted it to, so there's no neck dive or anything like that. It had a pretty thick neck, but I had nothing to compare it to back then, so I just got used to it. The action was great. The pickups were really high output, which was great because I eventually had to run it through guitar pedals to get any distortion, because the amp that it came with was more of a PA system. So it wasn't made for guitar, so there was no distortion on it. The only downside it had that I can think of now is that it had this gigantic PV bumper sticker on it. It was really strange. Sadly, I ended up trading that guitar for a practice amp because, like I said, that huge PV had no distortion or anything. So I traded it in for a small little practice amp because I could get good distortion out of that thing, and I could also transport it back and forth to my friend's house so that we could jam. And the reason I really regret giving it up is kind of obvious because it was my very first guitar, and there's a lot of sentimental connection to it. The next guitar on my list is my Charvel Avenger V. Now, I had practiced on that Harmony so much that my mom would hear me practicing, and she felt kind of bad because she thought that was a really cheap guitar because I only paid $100 for it. So she surprised me one day, and this was like a once-in-a-lifetime thing back then. My mom's like, do you want to go to Guitar Center and get a new guitar? I almost fainted. I couldn't believe it. So we went to Guitar Center in Roseville, Minnesota, and I remember looking up and seeing the white V, and I just pointed at it. It was kind of like glowing, like in the movies. So the guy went up on the ladder, brought it down, and I held it, and I was just in heaven. I didn't really care what it even sounded like. All I wanted to do was get out the door as fast as possible with it because I thought my mom might change her mind. Well, I brought it home, and it was kind of like this guitar, actually. This is not the same guitar, but it's the same style. I remember it felt weird putting it on my leg like this in order to sit with it, and then to have my hand way up here in order to play open chords felt really strange. I put the strap on it and stood up, and right away, the neck was diving down. And that was a huge bummer because I had never experienced that before because the Harmony that I used to have was so well balanced. Not only did it dive this way, it also dove forward, which is very strange. So in order to stand up and play it, it was really uncomfortable. I had to lock it to my body with my arms and play. Anyhow, I plugged it into my setup, and I remember being a little disappointed because the pickups were very weak compared to the Harmony guitar. It was also a weird configuration. It had a single coil on the neck pickup, and then the bridge pickup was a humbucker, but it was one of those angled humbuckers, which is really strange. It also just had one knob, which was the volume knob, which was kind of strange, and it had a pickup selector, and that was it, no tone knob. All that being said, though, it was the guitar that I probably put the most hours into, practice-wise, and then I played so many gigs early on with my teenage heavy metal band Sanctus, that there's so many memories attached to that guitar. So many shows, so many moments, and so that's a huge reason why I wish I still had it. But I ended up selling it in order to afford the next guitar on my list, which was a Yamaha Pacifica, I think. So the reason I say I think is because I cannot seem to find this guitar online now. When I bought it, the guy told me it was a Pacifica. But all I remember is the headstock had this huge Yamaha logo on it, and a lot of the Pacificas that I see now on the internet is basically a small little logo. So I think I had a special run of these guitars or something like that, but the thing played like a dream. It was the opposite of everything the V was, basically. So it's kind of funny. It's like I got divorced from the V, and all of a sudden I wanted all the things that the V didn't offer me. So it was well balanced. There was no neck dive anywhere. It was very comfortable. It actually got me comfortable with this shape of guitar, because up till then I had the Les Paul copy and I had the V. But I got used to it and now I love it, and I think that's a big reason why I love this guitar so much, because the shape of it is very close to what the Yamaha was. The pickups were smoking hot. It was the humbucker, single coil humbucker, just like an Ibanez guitar had. And the thing would sing for days. Compared to my V, this thing was like 10 times the sustain, 10 times the output. It was just incredible. The trem system as well was very solid. I could pick it up by the trem bar and shake it, and the thing would still be in tune. So it was the most reliable guitar I ever played up until then, even though I've only had 3 up to that point. It sounded great. It felt great. It looked cool because it was black. It may have not looked as cool as my V, but it still had a cool look on its own. So what do? I sell it for a Jackson. And the Jackson that I ended up getting was pretty good, except it wasn't as good as the Yamaha. So I kind of made a mistake in that department. I should have kept the Yamaha, and to this day, I still wish I had it. The final guitar I'll talk about was my Ibanez Universe 7-string. Now, it was the coveted white model with the disappearing pyramids, which looked so cool. But I've told the story before on a live stream, but it's kind of silly. When I first ordered it, it took me forever to save up for it, by the way. I think I paid $1,200 for it, and nowadays it's going for like $6,000, so it's crazy. But I remember paying for it, waiting for it to ship, and they said it would take about 5 days. So after 5 days, I was waiting by the window. I would see the UPS truck go by, but it never stopped. For about a week straight, it just kept passing where I was. Finally, after about 7 days of torturing myself waiting for this guitar, I ran out and I actually confronted the UPS guy. And he looked it up on his system. He said, "We have no record of a guitar being shipped to you." So luckily, my friend's mom was there, and she heard, and she did some investigating, and she found out that the guy actually sent it through the United States Postal Service. It somehow got messed up in transit, and so they were actually going to auction it off in a couple days. So she drove out to get it, and to this day, I'm so grateful to Mary Jo. Thank you for doing this for me. And she rescued the guitar. When she brought it home, it was almost like I had lost my dog and someone found it and brought it home. I was so excited because I always wanted a 7-string, because my guitar teacher one time, Eric Naylor, came in and he had the black and green version of it. I thought it was so cool that everything on it was 7, 7 tuning pegs. The neck was wider to accommodate the 7 strings. It had that low B string, which was really killer. The pickups had 7 magnets. Everything was customized on it. And 7 being my lucky number, I thought I just have to have this guitar. Plus Steve Vai played one, John Petrucci. There's so many reasons why I wanted this guitar. I opened the case, and to my surprise, it was bright pink on the inside of the case. The next couple months, all I did was play 7-string. I just played everything down on that fat string, and it sounded so heavy and so cool. And I recall bringing it to guitar lessons, and my student was enamored by the guitar. I feel like I should be holding my gem right now as I talk about this, because at least it kind of looks like it from a distance. So the novelty kind of wore off on that guitar a little bit. So one day I decided just to make him a deal of a lifetime, and I had told him I would sell him the Ibanez Universe for half the price that I bought it for. At the time, I was like, I really wasn't using it as much as I thought I was going to. I was so used to 6 strings that I went back and started playing that more than the 7 string. So I thought, not the biggest loss in the world. Sadly, though, I found out that after about a year of him owning the guitar, he ended up trading it to somebody for drugs. And my jaw just hit the floor when I heard that news. When he told me, I was just like, oh my God, man, those better have been some great drugs. But seriously, I was kind of mad at him. I'm like, I can't believe you did that. And to this day, he still laughs about it. And is like, I can't believe I did that. Oh my God. Okay, so those are the 4 guitars that I most regret getting rid of in the past. If you have a story that you want to tell, go ahead and leave it in the comments section. I wonder how many people are doing what I do, which is I try to replace them as much as possible because I miss them. But I can't really replace like the Harmony guitar. I think that one's gone forever. Although I still keep an eye out for it sometimes. I look online and I'm waiting to see a goofy looking Harmony with a PV sticker on it. But I'm not holding my breath on that one. But either way, let me know what your story is and I'll look forward to reading it, okay? We'll catch you guys later. Thank you. Bye-bye.